waste a little bit of time, but let's ask ChatGPT a couple of questions.
What do you got?
How about enter, I'm a first-time home seller looking to buy a bigger house. What advice can you give me to make that a successful transaction? I don't know about you guys, but I mean, asking ChatGPT is a lot. People are going to that a lot more frequently than they were previously, and it might replace Google at some point. But anyway, what got the answer yet?
Coming in right now. All right, so basically, I'll kind of summarize a little bit here, but that's exciting. You're stepping up into one of the trickier but most rewarding moves in real estate, selling and buying at the same time. Successful transition really comes down to timing, financing, and preparation. Here's a roadmap you can use, and it goes through get your finances clear. So talk to a lender early, know your equity, and then budget realistically. Obviously setting a plan and parameters, which is I say is a great idea, right? To do that. Not everybody does that, as simple as that sounds when it's written out here, but
that's tough to disagree with right there.
Right. Number 2 is prepare your current home for top dollar. I got a couple opinions right from that one sentence there, but declutter and stage, fix the little things, and get a pre-listing inspection. To get top dollar, I would say to get the most for your money is a different way to put that, but like to make sure that you're realistic of whether your house is worth top dollar or not, I guess is a big first step, and that kind of ties to the pre-listing inspection. I don't know that you need an actual inspection, but having one of us come out or an agent in general come out and look at the house and give a third-party opinion on it is a great idea, I would say, right?
Yeah. I do like the your point on getting top dollar. What does that mean? It doesn't mean the most equity.
Yeah.
Top dollar is, you can beware of increasing your upgrades too far. I think we caught up to Jeremy as well. Too far, because oftentimes, I don't know how many times you've seen the biggest ROI improvements on your home. A lot of people are like, oh, kitchen, it's going to cost you $60,000 to redo a kitchen.
But I don't like that color.
It's not going to increase your home's value by $60,000 on most homes.
Right.
So it's definitely beware of that. What's the biggest bang for your buck? And a lot of times that's cleaning.
Yeah. First impressions are huge. That's where most of your money is at, I would argue. And not that it's going to get you that extra $60,000 that you're talking about, but it's going to allow them to be wanting to pay any dollar amount for it, right?
Right.
We just looked at a house that is a good house, a fine place, but it was missing stairs to get to the front door. That's kind of a thing, right? So little things like that. So number 3 is choose your timing strategy. If you have a few ways to handle a sell, buy, overlap. So do you need to sell first, buy first, or have a contingent offer? And there's a lot of ways to do that, right? So you've got a few different pockets of people, someone that can purchase the second home while they have their first one, and some that just totally outside their comfort zone of being able to juggle those variables, right? Because you don't know what's going to be available when you have your house listed. So
yeah.
There's going to be a different plan for different people, right? Because not everybody's going to be wanting to do that the same way.
Good point on that. Can do and want to are two completely different things. And oftentimes the people that can don't want to, and the people that want to can't. So
right.
Again, to ChatGPT's credit there is have realistic expectations of what you can do, but talking to a lender early. Was there more on that list as we're getting to this next?
Yep. Work with the right realtor. We've got some opinions here. So that's number 4.
Yeah, there's only about 6 or 7 of them. They're all at North Star Pro Realty.
Skilled agent can coordinate both transactions, line up the closing date, negotiate terms, like rent back, which I'd be careful with a little bit, but
yes.
Where the seller and the buyer work together to rent back. So they'll also price your home correctly so it moves quickly without leaving money on the table. So that's a better way of putting for top dollar, pricing it right and having it move along. So there are a couple more steps here that maybe we'll get to afterwards. But
definitely. partnering with somebody that's been there, done that, that can actually give you real world experience and advice on those. Those are great.
Yeah, and we're joking a little bit about there's only 6 or 7. There's a lot of good agents out there, but
that is true.
There's also a few that are less than great also.
Be careful. Hopping back into our ChatGPT request for information. I don't know where we left off.
Basically, choose your timing strategy is where we started the last part of our conversation of do you need to, and by need to, there's a comfort zone and there's a necessity, right? There's 2 pieces of that. Need to sell first, need to buy first, or have a contingent offer in that conversation. So some people will find a way to sell their place first. I'm going to live with family or do something. I have a cabin I can stay in, something like that. Just kind of removing all the strings from it, right? One stress at a time. I will say not necessary, but it's a good option if you have the ability to do it. Basically, it just removes any of the hurdles that could come up with timing of the calendar and the dollar amounts and the buyers, right?
Yeah. That being said, I mean, one thing to think about, especially on timing, is, a normal or a typical, because there's nothing normal in real estate, a typical closing is going to be 30-ish days, 30 to 45 days. Just use that as a mental barrier. And when you sit down with the right real estate agent, they're going to be able to share data with you, like average days on market. And not only average days on market for, the competition or what's happened in the past, they may trend towards, this is average days on market for homes that were appropriately priced. Now, in a shifting market that we do see, it's like, if sellers still think it's 2022 where the buyers will pay anything, they typically are more aggressive on asking for a higher asking price, where buyers think it's 2010 where they're thinking they're going to get a deal on absolutely everything. So now there's going to be some days on the market that I would feel are quasi-wasted. So again, depending on what
median mode, right?
Depending on what your strategy is, definitely bank that. So let's just say for an appropriately priced home, 45 days on market. So well, now we're at 90 days. So that's already 3 months. So you're kind of working backwards, reverse engineering when you want to be to the next place. I mean, that's a considerable chunk of the calendar.
And that's from going live. That's not even when you're prepping for not even when you're prepping for being ready to list. So.
And kind of a short story on that is when homes are sitting in for 30 days or not having an offer, because it might take a lot longer time to prep, the homeowner's been in it mentally for 6 months or a year. Where, hey, we're day 12 on the market.
Right.
We could calm down just a little bit. So
right, exactly.
Anyway, so we'll pick up right after this next one.
You were telling a story about something. I don't remember how that played out.
I don't know either. But timing strategy is just partnering with an active real estate agent, a good active real estate agent, because they can help you build that timeline. Again, I think we touched on, a seller might mentally be in it a year by the time they even hit active. So it's just something to be aware of. It is building that timeline. And I'll tell you what, a lot of people, again, this is maybe a common theme, like, I didn't really want to bother you because we're not going to do something until next year.
Right.
Information's never a bad thing when it comes to preparing for such a major life event. Like, hey, let's do it. I want to be your resource of information, because you might need help. You might need a handyman. You might need, some repair or, some updating or some other resources that I have access to because I know who to call.
Right.
So again, that's definitely give us a call earlier rather than later, and hopefully, we can make it as smooth as possible for you.
Yeah, and not to get too far off topic onto this conversation, but on the handyman type of conversation, what you think is a huge project might not actually be that big of a deal for the person that knows how to do it. It's a phone call away and a little bit of money, and it's not a big deal. But and then probably should touch on the contingent offer side of things. Just a matter of you can make an offer on a house just pending the fact that your house is going to sell and go through, right? So contingent upon the sale of your property is how you would write an offer on the house that you're looking to purchase. So that's an opportunity.
Yeah.
So
Opportunity, I mean, and there's ways to navigate that, high level thoughts being, positive communication with listing agents and sellers, and also not knowing that sometimes a seller, even though they like your number, they can't wait for something else that might happen because they may be on a different timeline than you.
Yep.
It's actually probably likely that they are on a different timeline than you. So again, it's just knowing how to navigate those that gives you the best chance, even though it's not a guaranteed with a contingent offer.
Yeah. Let's see here. We kind of touched on, but work with the right realtor. Sorry. Skilled agent can coordinate both transactions, line up closing date, negotiate terms, rent backs, and stuff like that. So that's something.
Kind of goes without. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then number 5, making your offers competitive. So getting pre-approved, kind of redundant to what we talked about before, but not just pre-qualified, but pre-approved. And then consider flexibility. Sometimes offering a fast close or give the seller more time can beat a higher dollar offer. And that's something we see a fair amount. Is like the dollar amount is one thing, but the end result is we have our house listed because we want to sell it and someone else to own it, right? So dollar amount is one thing, but it's got to work favorably at the same time. So
yeah, ideally just make it a win-win situation for both buyer and seller. And a lot of times, one question that I like to ask sellers is, what's the most important thing in this transaction? Sometimes we need the most amount of money, or we need the shortest amount of time on the market, or we just need to move, or we're not in a hurry. I mean, again, it's a good question to ask so we can actually devise a plan to actually best suit what you're looking for, and I think that's super important.
And at the same time, when we're working with you as a buyer as well, that we're asking those questions as good realtors to the listing agent of, hey, what is your client looking for? Because if we go in there on 30 days terms, saying we want to close in 30 days and they can't get out of there for 60 days or 90 days, well, your offer isn't great right from the start, and we could have done a better job of communicating that. And that's something I would say we're really good at. But we get offers where they never even talk to us, and we have an offer coming to us where they never even had that opportunity, right? So
communication is a great thing. Everybody thinks that all real estate agents are competitors with one another. Is yes and no.
Right.
People are going to migrate towards their people, the people they already know, like, and trust. But, part of our big value is the good relationships that we have with other real estate agents. I know I've won multiple offer situations with a listing agent because we've had smooth transactions multiple times, and that was a determining factor, saying, hey, this guy brought an offer, we're going to get it done, and it's going to be as smooth as possible, because that's what we've done in the past.
Right.
So anyway, some of these transition videos are going to be a little bit off, but that's okay.
They can also be their own little blips.
Yep. Our next communication on that ChatGPT list was having a backup plan, if I'm not
correct.
mistaken.
So plan for possibility that your home sells fast and you haven't found a new one, or vice versa. Things like storage, short-term rental, staying with family could be your safety net. So all pretty achievable ideas, and at the same time not necessary either. There are other ways to make that happen, but having storage, I mean, even leading up to the listing is nice to get some of the unnecessary stuff out. So 100%. I would almost hope you have a little bit of a plan there already.
Yeah. That's a good point. And I usually go to the extreme when I'm having a conversation with the seller. Well, we don't really have a place to go. I said, well, what if somebody walked into your house tomorrow and said, I'm going to give you $10 million, but you have to be, no, this is a $350,000 house, not a $12 million home. But you have to be out in 15 days. I guarantee you, with the proper motivation, you are going to find a place in 15 days.
Right.
Might not be the place to buy or anything like that, but it's really just to treat it with that seriousness of sometimes you're going to need a backup plan. Well, actually, you always need a backup plan, whether you use it or not is the variable.
Yep.
Again, obviously that's the extreme version of it, but sometimes it's the backup plan of, what if your contingent offer gets called by the seller? Are you still going to sell? Is there a second property you want to go after?
I think it's probably worth explaining what that means.
Sure.
Because that's easy to know when you know, but it might catch some people off guard.
Well, I know a lot. Contingent offer, contingencies. Something needs to happen for us to get to the closing table. And there's all sorts of contingencies, inspection, finance, meaning we want to take a bit closer look. That's the inspection contingency. Financing, we need to make sure that it appraises, we keep a job, we stay alive until closing. That's a financing contingency. But oftentimes when we say a contingent offer, it means I need to sell 123 Main Street to buy 456 Center Street. And that's what needs to happen. That in common vernacular of real estate agent, of a contingent offer. So meaning
basically under terms of something that could disrupt the deal, I guess would be a good way to put that, right? So like something that could change, under these terms, this is either going to go forward or not go forward.
Correct.
Even after you have an accepted offer under price, terms, time, all that type of stuff. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just really understanding what that means when you have to do a contingent offer, contingent on the sale of your home. We're dealing with one right now. We have sellers, and they accepted an offer contingent on the successful closing of a buyer's property. Now, the buyer's already lined up their buyer, Domino 1, but that Domino 1 pulled out. Now, they're going back to the drawing board. We ended up saying, hey, we can no longer, the terms have changed, we need to cancel this and we need to move forward with another person. And that's what happened. And unfortunate, it's a bummer, but for everybody involved, but the facts are what they are. You just have to deal with that at that point.
Right. And we talked through what that possibility or probability could be. So it wasn't a surprise. It wasn't expected necessarily, but it wasn't a surprise. And those are the types of things that a good agent is going to be helping you through, or what from the surface seems like such an easy transaction of you just got to find a buyer and a seller and all that of what could possibly go wrong.
I will, if I've got a grade in mind on what this ChatGPT grade is, for what their advice was given. Do you have a grade in mind, like A through F?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you mine or you give me yours first, then I'll tell you what I think.
I would say it's probably a B or a B plus. There's a lot of untolds in that conversation that from the surface don't seem like there's any question left, but reading between the lines, which is something that's very important with chat anyways, but it could head you in a lot of wrong directions if you don't have a fluid conversation to go with it. So your thoughts?
I would say it's a good place to start, and for that I'm going to give it an A minus.
Yeah.
It was, hey, that's actually a process that we probably would have talked about.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good, but without further explanation of what it might mean, that's where they're lacking of that A plus. But that's why you hire actual real people.
Right.
All right. Thank you.